Hi, everyone. I wanted to share a slow and gentle practice with you as we transition from fall into winter. So for the practice, we will have 2 blocks and a tennis ball, and we'll begin seated in cross-legged, comfortable, easy position supported perhaps by the wall, or I'm going to use a block for hero pose. So I'm just going to straddle the block and find ease there. And I'm going to set my tennis ball aside. So let's just begin with rocking forward and back, kind of moving from side to side. We'll welcome Lily into the practice. She's always here. Hi, sweetie. So we're just moving around, shaking things out. Rolling the shoulders back. Just taking some time to tuck the pelvis, extend the spine, and then round the spine. Hands can be, oh, that tennis ball's not for you, Lily. Oops. I'll have to find that later. So we're just rocking forward and back, finding some extension to the spine. And then as we tuck the pelvis, rounding through the spine. Chin can drop down towards the chest. And then from here, we'll find some stillness within the low body. And just take a moment to check in. One way that I like to do that is to begin to notice the breath. And it's nice to bring a hand to the upper chest and the low belly. Close the eyes if that feels safe and comfortable for you. Otherwise, I'm just going to lower my lids. Keep an eye on my tennis ball here. And just begin to connect with the inhale and the exhale. This is a time where we can choose to have the pace and the rhythm to the breath that will carry us through the practice. Taking the time to scan through different parts of the body. Just begin to notice how you're feeling today. A few rounds of easy flow, inhale, followed by exhale. And as long as there's no congestion, see if you can draw the breath in through both nostrils. Just feel the pull of that breath into the back of the throat. Feel the upper chest and the heart space meet the breath. And maybe even the expansion, that space between the rib cage through the side body. So filling up with the inhale and then exhale long and slow, full release of breath there. So continuing with this natural flow of breath, setting your pace and rhythm to carry you through the practice. From here, I'm bringing my hands together. I'll begin to rub them briskly, creating some warmth in the center of the palms, and then lightly placing them over the eye. So just cupping the hands over the eye. So the base of the palm is resting on the cheekbones, the fingertips resting lightly on the forehead, perhaps even opening up the space between the fingers so the thumbs rest just above the ears. So just taking a moment here, closing off our sense of sight from the external world, tuning in with what's happening with our internal world. A few rounds of breath here as you feel complete. And slide the hands up towards the top of the head. So the right hand to the right side of the head, the left hand to the left side, and perhaps the fingertips will touch at the crown of the head. And from here, it might feel nice to just give a little squeeze to the head and then a release. A little squeeze, pressing into the sides of the head, activating the upper body, and then release. Some gentle acupressure to begin. And then engaging from the area of the head and neck, we can press the right side of the head into the right hand. So the head and neck are doing the work here. So we're just pressing the right side of the head into the right hand and then releasing. And we'll press the left side of the head into the left hand and then releasing. So you can alternate here. Just engaging through the right side of the head and the neck, pressing into the hand, and then moving to the left side. And then we'll switch the hands. So the left hand is holding the back of the head, and the right hand is holding the forehead. So the shoulders and the arms have extended out towards the side. And from here, you can just give a little squeeze, a little contraction, and then release. Squeeze and release. And then we can lean back. So the back of the head is pressing into the left hand. And then we can lean forward. So the forehead is pressing into the right hand. So just gentle effort this morning. It's morning where I am. There are a couple days until the beginning of winter where I live. So I thought I would share some movements that I've been practicing during this transition time from fall into winter. And that feels complete with the hands and the head. You can just extend the arms up. Just give a stretch through the upper body, reaching through the fingers. And then release of the arms down by your side. However you're sitting, we will shift into hands and knees pose and have some blocks handy. And I'm going to take my tennis ball back. That's right, I am. I'm going to scoot you over too. So I've been practicing a lot with the blocks, and I've really been enjoying the enhanced grip strength with the blocks. So there are different edges of the blocks. Of course, we have the flat side, the medium side, and the high side, so we can alter that. I personally enjoy the medium side for table pose. So I'm just holding the medium side of the block to come into my rock backs, pressing down through the tops of my feet and just shifting forward and back, much in a similar way that we did when we were sitting. So now I'm bringing some circles in through my hips, side to side. And then perhaps coming to the middle and opting for some spinal extension and flexion again. So squeezing the edges of the blocks and lifting my gaze, opening through the heart space here. And then I'm tucking the pelvis, chin to chest, rounding the spine. From here, I always like to give a sway from side to side. So just moving at the pace that feels right for you as we awaken the spine with this movement. We'll meet back in the middle. And then I'm taking the blocks in my hands and I'm walking them off to the right side. So I'm just taking my gaze beyond the right shoulder towards that lower right corner of my mat or my right foot. And then I'm hinging my left hip towards the left heel. I can drop the chin and chest here as well, releasing through the head and neck. Taking a moment with the breath through the left side of the body. And then walking the blocks and the hands through center over to the left side. Gaze beyond the left shoulder towards the left foot, and then seeing if I have some space to release through the head and neck. And pause for breath in the right side of the rib cage. Walking the hands back through center, still working with the blocks here. Shifting forward and back. I've been enjoying a supportive up dog with the use of the block. So as I shift my weight forward, rolling the shoulders back, accessing the strength in the upper part of the body by bending through the elbows. I keep my gaze somewhat low here. For me, it's a focal point of the baseboard where the wall and the lower baseboard meet, pressing down through the tops of the feet, and then pressing into the hands, gripping the edges of the block. I'm shifting back and hanging in a version of child pose here. My knees are somewhat center. They can always be a little bit wider. So make any adjustments that feel right. And the hips don't have to be close to the heels. It's just about enjoying the flexion through the hip creases and then shifting back. So in and out of transitions here, shifting in this supportive upward facing dog with the blocks, and then hinging back for a version of child pose. Perhaps shaking the head yes or no here. And then lingering wherever it feels right for you. Meeting back in table pose, I'm just going to set the blocks aside for a moment. Taking my left hand underneath the gaze, opening up the space between the fingers, making some space here by hinging my hips forward and back. And then I'll extend that right arm out to the side. And as I hinge back, I'm reaching my right arm up towards the ceiling or where the wall meets the ceiling, just to get a lift on that right side. And then we'll just half thread underneath the left. So I'll just work with this momentum of threading that right arm underneath the left. I'm moving somewhat quickly here, but feel free to slow it down and linger in at any point. And enjoy this half twist in the upper part of the spine. I'm switch out my hands. So I have now the right hand underneath the gaze, opening up the space between the fingers, making adjustments under my knees, and then extending the left arm out to the side, hinging my hips back, and then see if my hand will extend a little further up. Right here, it's reaching towards the seam of the ceiling and the wall. And then I'll half thread this left arm underneath the right. So again, I'm moving somewhat quickly. Just see where you're at, where you want to bring your effort and your energy this morning. Always options to slow things down and linger where it feels good. And take a moment here to walk the hands forward. I'm going to come up onto tented fingers, so I'm lifting up through my wrists, and then I'm keeping my knees somewhat wide, and I'm just hinging back. I'm hanging my head heavy here, dropping the chin towards the chest, breathing into the back of the heart space. A few rounds of breath until this shape feels complete. And then I'm sliding my hands back underneath the shoulders. From here, I will take my blocks again, just as an option. And I'll begin to open up through the low body. So we can just begin with some flexion through the knee. So I'm pressing down through the top of my left foot, and I'm going to bring my right knee towards my right elbow, and then just extend that right leg behind. So just moving through this flexion and extension. And then I'll bring in some circles to that right hip and right knee. So the next time the right knee is in towards the right elbow, I'm just going to pretend I have a pen on the front of my right knee and begin to draw some circles. So circles out to the side, they can start small, and then maybe they widen. And then ultimately, I'm extending this whole right leg out to the side and then dropping it down. So I have my great toe, the inner part of the heel, the small toe, and the outward part of the heel pressing down onto the floor. And then I have some options to shift forward and back, make adjustments with this left knee. And then I'm walking my hands and blocks somewhat forward, and I'm going to shift in and out of this upward facing dog with the support of the blocks, and then press down into the blocks and hinge back. So it just subtly changes the shape with that extended right leg, just moving in and out. Working with transitions today, sort of as a thread. I live here in the New England part of the States, and the transitions through the seasons always help me find clarity through movement. Looking to nature to see what's true. And then from here, I'm coming back through center, bringing a bend in that right knee, and then heel toeing the right foot and towards the front of the mat. And I'm transitioning my blocks to the higher side now, so I have the support that I need. And I'm just moving in and out of this low lunge. So we'll take a moment here, we'll take a pause, pressing that right foot into the mat, rolling the shoulders back and down, just feeling the heart space open. Tuning into that natural flow of breath. Perhaps as you engage through the low body, pressing in through the right foot, you can bring the hands away from the blocks. Maybe the hands will stack on the thigh, the hips. Maybe we can rise up with the arms. And just finding this lift in the upper body. My gaze is where the wall meets the ceiling. Bringing in some twists, some movement in the upper body here. So my right arm will extend forward, my left arm extends back. Perhaps my gaze will follow here. The gaze can also be to the side. Hands meet back in the middle, and then the left arm reaches forward and the right arm reaches back. So again, the gaze can be beyond that right shoulder or hand or just to the side, and we meet back in the middle. So taking it one or two more times here. We meet in the middle. Take our reach through the fingers and then bring the hands back down to meet those blocks. I'm going to curl my left toes under to lift my back left knee, bring in a little bit more engagement into this shape. So moving from a low lunge to a higher lunge. My toes are facing the same direction. I'm just feeling into the stretch in the back of that left leg and adjusting that left foot as well as the right. So from here, we'll take a twist. So I'm leaning into my left hand, supported by the block, reaching forward with this right arm, and then I'm just taking this right arm towards the ceiling or where the wall meets the ceiling. My gaze can follow, taking a twist here, extending back through that left heel, and then releasing. Lowering the left knee. I'm hinging back and then taking a runner's lunge with this right leg. So I'm lifting up through my right toes. Taking a pause with the breath here. And then we'll work it out through the other side. So I'm walking my blocks forward and I'm just heel toeing that right foot out to the side, circling it back around so it will meet my left. And I'm just changing my presence in this space so you can see better what's happening. I'm readjusting the blocks back to the medium level, hinging forward and back, and I'll work the low body on the left side. So pressing down through the top of the right foot, left knee will come in towards the left elbow, and then extending back through that left leg. I have obstructions in my space, so make adjustments within yours as well. So just extending that left leg back, moving in through flexion and extension. The next time the left knee is towards the left elbow, I'm going to imagine that I have a pen on the front of the left knee and beginning to draw circles. Starting out small on this side. And then moving into larger circles. And then ultimately I'm extending this left leg all the way out to the side and then planting down that left foot, all four corners of the left foot. So great toe, small toe, inner heel, and outer heel. I find that adjustments are necessary with the right foot and the top of that right knee. I'm just hinging forward and back. And the transitions that will happen here are supported up dog and then hinging back, chin to chest, gentle shake to the head and neck. So I'm working in and out here. Just noticing the direction of my breath as I move, not forcing anything. And lingering where it feels right to linger. Oh, goodness. Overprotective dog. Apologies for her fierce bark. Life goes on. The mail gets delivered. People walk by the house. And then from here, I'm moving back towards center, bringing a bend into the left knee, and then heel toeing this left foot towards the front part of the mat. And I'm making those adjustments with the block, so shifting into the higher side. And then moving in and out of this low lunge. Really what I'm doing is adjusting my legs so it feels right for me, supportive. Pressing down through this left foot. Pausing in this low lunge to where I feel stable and supported enough to perhaps come up onto the thigh or the hips or rise up with the arms. So my gaze is somewhat lifted. I like having the space of the heart and the throat lifted and open. So I'm working here, extending through the fingers. And then we'll begin the twists from side to side. So the right arm will reach forward, left arm will reach back. We can take the gaze along with it or just to the side. Hands meet back through center, and then the left arm will reach forward and the right arm will reach back. So moving at the pace that feels right for you. And then coming back through center, reaching the hands back down towards the blocks. This is where I'm curling my right toes under, lifting that back right knee, making adjustments with my foundation. Perhaps the blocks adjust as well, and I'm shifting the weight into the left hand and the left block while I extend out through that right heel. And then the left arm will reach forward, and then we'll take that left arm to the side. So I'm twisting to my left bent knee. My gaze is either up at the ceiling or where the wall meets the ceiling. I'm just easing into this twist for a round of breath. Releasing that left arm down, lowering the right knee, and then walking the hands in the block back to come into that runner's lunge on the left side. Dropping chin to chest here. Taking a round of breath. And then I'm walking the hands forward with the blocks, and I'm transitioning the blocks here onto the medium side, and then heel toeing this left foot out to the side and circling it back around to meet my right. And then I have my blocks ready to set me up for a downward dog. Curling the toes under. And take some time for activated rock backs, maybe some hip circles. And then from here, I squeeze the edges of my block to enhance my grip strength, and then activate the muscles of my upper body. So slight bend in those elbows. And then I shift my weight back into the tips of the toes and see if I can press the mat away, press the floor away. And then I'm hovering here with my knees, just taking some time as I shift into downward dog so the hips can lift here. And then I begin to gently walk in place. So we all have unique bodies. We're all different. And having a head below the heart will shift the circulation as well as the energy in the body. So moving slowly and allowing the breath to move through is very helpful with those shifts. So I'm just walking my feet, sort of pedal pressing my feet, lifting one heel and then the other. My feet are slightly wider than my hips here. And there's so many options in this downward dog shape. So we can shift the weight slightly forward and come up onto the heels, activate through the toes, lower those heels down. Then we can switch it out from side to side here. So as we activate through the toes and lift the heels, we can then lower both heels to the right, back through center, lower both heels to the left, coming back through center, and then lowering the heels down for hover. Just taking a moment here to shake my head, yes or no. And then stepping my feet in towards the center line of the body, I'm going to step this right foot forward and the left foot slightly forward. So I feel like I have all four corners of the feet down. So taking a pyramid shape, and then I'm adjusting the blocks to the higher side. So this way, I can release through the upper body. Taking a few rounds of breath here, the back of the heart space. Breathing into the backs of the legs. And then I'm bending into this right knee, extending through the crown of my head. And I'm just going to switch the legs out. So the left foot will come forward this time and the right will be behind, but we're still in that pyramid shape where we have all four corners of the feet down. So releasing through the head and neck here. Gentle shake, yes or no. Few rounds of breath. And then I'm bending into this left knee and I'm bringing the right foot forward. So somewhat wider stance here. And then I'm going to set one block aside and I have one block in front on the high side. And I'm just going to find that lift, that halfway lift through the spine, extend through the crown of the head, activate here, and then find that full release, folding forward. Maybe a shift and a sway from side to side. Halfway lift, I can press the hands into the edge of the block, extend through the crown of the head, and then lower one more time here, forward fold. I'm just moving into the feet and the low legs. And then I'm choosing to rise up slowly. So however you choose to do this. You can walk the hands up the legs. It's one option. You can hold the hands to the hips. You can hold opposite elbows. You can also just allow the arms to dangle. But I also like to activate through the low body. So really pressing into the feet, engaging through the knees and the thighs and unraveling slowly here. To rise up. So rolling the right shoulder back, the left shoulder back, and then just circling out the wrists and the feet as well. And we'll just take a moment here before we come into some standing poses with the tennis ball. So I am actually headed to work today when I'm done filming this, and I'll be on my feet for about 10 hours, maybe more. And this is something I've been working through that has really been helping my hips and my legs and just general soreness in my back. So I have a chair here. I also have a wall. I encourage you to have something that you can hold on to. And I'm just going to bring the tennis ball to the floor and I'm going to start with my right foot. And I'm just going to roll that tennis ball around on the sole of my right foot. So being able to hold on to a support is really helpful. And that way you can shift the weight into the left leg. And then once you find a spot on the sole of the right foot, you can really kind of press into it. So just some key highlights would be the rolling of the ball just underneath the toes, getting that pad of the great toe, the central part of the sole of the foot, and then just pressing around the edges of the heel. Can feel really nice. So I've been doing this before I go into work, and it's really been helping because by the time I get home, it's close to midnight since I work in the evening, and I just want to go to bed. So adding this to my practice has been a huge help. And we have a lot of nerve endings in the soles of our feet. So taking a moment to switch sides. Noticing the differences in sensation from one foot to another. I always love that sensation when you take the tennis ball away from one foot and you're starting to work through the other foot. The foot that just had the tennis ball underneath it, kind of still feels like it's there. So getting that central part of the sole of the foot, the outward aspect of the heels, kind of tucking the tennis ball just underneath the toes, the pad of the great toe, small toe. And then just slightly shifting the weight onto the left side, being mindful of areas of tenderness and extra sensitivity. And then I'm just gonna remove the tennis ball and just see how it feels to stand on your feet after having worked it. Maybe circling out through the ankles, walking around in your space. And then ultimately we'll shift into a wide stance here, hands on the hips, and we'll come into five-pointed star, which is one of my favorite poses to take transitions through. So this is like a base that we work from. So just taking a moment to rock forward and back. Toes can lift, heels can lift. Rolling of the shoulders, and then extending of the arms, circling out through the palms, maybe just opening the palms up towards the ceiling and then rotating the palms down towards the floor. Taking a moment here to acknowledge all the 5 points, pressing into the feet, extending outward from your radiant center. We'll slide this right arm down the right leg and just reach up with the left arm. Take a breath through the left side of the body. Coming back up through center, left arm slides down the left leg. We're reaching up with the right arm. Taking a whole body breath here, an inhale followed by an exhale. Lifting back up through center. And then from here, we'll keep the left foot where it is and just rotate the right foot. I'm working within a mat space, so I'm rotating my right foot away from center towards the short edge of my mat. And then from here, I'm easing into that bend of the right knee and coming right into my warrior two pose. So from here, I'm imagining breathing in through the fingers, which of course are an extension. The hands are an extension of the heart space. So breathing in through the fingers and the hands, drawing that breath in towards the heart, filling up. And when you're ready to exhale, just imagining the breath shooting down through the feet and into the earth. So working within this horizontal and vertical energy. Breathing in through fingers, hands into the heart space. Exhaling down through the pelvis, the legs, and the feet. We'll take some time to draw this left arm down the left leg. Reach up with the right arm. A round or two of breath here, holding that flexion in the right knee. Finding your lift up and out of the waist. And then just gently straightening this right leg without locking it. We'll hinge forward with the hips, reaching beyond that right foot. And I have a block here, which I enjoy. I'm just going to put the block in front of the right foot. My left hand can be on the hip and my right hand can find the block. My gaze can be down or to the side. And then from here, I may want to extend the left arm and shift into my triangle pose. Taking a round or two of breath here. Gaze can be up or to the side. And as we lift up and out of the waist, release the hand from the block, and then just reverse the triangle here. Moving back through center, we'll find that base point. I'm just going to shift my block to the other side and then rotate this right foot so it's meeting the left foot and we're facing forward with it. So coming back into 5-pointed star pose, you can rock a little bit here. And then moving right into warrior 2 on the left side. So now the left toes are facing the short edge of my mat within my space. And I'm just bringing a bend into this left knee. So finding that imagery of the breath through the hands into the heart space. Long exhale down through the spine, the pelvis, the legs, and the feet into the earth. Right arm slides down the right leg, reaching up with this left arm. Perhaps focalizing the breath into that area of the left rib cage. Just really lifting and opening up the space here. Still while pressing down through all 4 corners of the feet. And then as I lift up and out of the waist from this warrior 2 position, I'm straightening that left leg without locking the knee, hinging forward through that left hip and left hand. And then I'm going to find my block to the inner aspect of the left foot this time. Right hand is on the hip. I'm just taking a moment here with the gaze down, maybe adjusting the gaze to the side, and then perhaps bringing this right arm up towards the ceiling or where the wall meets the ceiling. So make space for the body and the breath. And move into the shape so it feels right for you. And I'm lifting up and out of the waist, and then releasing this right arm down the right leg and just reversing the triangle with the left arm lifted, taking a round or 2 of breath here. Coming back through center, hands can be on the hips, and we just dial the toes in the same direction, moving back into that base point of 5-pointed star pose. This is a nice segue into standing stirrup pose. So we're pointing the toes out to the side. Legs are a bit wider than the hips here, and then just easing in to side lunges, right and left. So you can alternate here, moving from side to side. There's an option to hold in the middle with both knees flexed. Give a gentle tuck to the pelvis here, activating through the low body. You can straighten the legs and come into that wide-legged squat, which is basically what standing stirrup pose is. You can hold into your squat and maybe lift one heel and then the other. You have the option, of course, to lift both heels, see how that feels through the toe activation, maybe shift back into the alternation, maybe stand, and then ease back in. So from here, this moving in and out of standing stirrup pose, we can add the arms. So perhaps the next time the knees are bent, we open up the arms into this cactus pose or goalpost arms. We're squeezing the shoulder blades together. The palms are facing forward, and then we can have this movement of straightening the legs and then reaching the arms up and then coming back down into this standing stirrup pose, or also known as goddess pose. Building a little bit of heat and fire, the element of the winter season. Holding wherever it feels comfortable for you, either in this wide-legged squat or finding that reach, or maybe you ease in from side to side. Maybe the hands come back to the hips here. But we'll all meet back in the middle with legs extended. And I'm just going to find my second block. So 2 blocks are always nice. And I'm taking some time to set up my block, so I'll have some space here to come forward in my wide-legged fold. So I'm just readjusting my feet now, so the toes are facing forward. And then I'll take my hands to the hips and just give a gentle lift to the heart and the spine. I love this idea that we have the sun within ourselves. So we're meeting the sun, the light within ourselves, not taking it in from an external source, feeding both. And then shifting forward, hinging at the hips, coming halfway forward, extending through the crown of the head. And then from here, we can reach towards the blocks. And I may make some extra adjustments and just see if we have some support for the forehead here. I'm going to take about 3 to 5 rounds of whole body breathing. So just imagining this breath as a 3-dimensional quality from the front to the sides to the back of the body. This is a point within the practice that we can shift the breath that has transitioned. So from that increased effort back down to a bit more ease, the breath needs that space to adjust. Slowly, I'm going to press into the fingertip pads and lift my forehead away from the blocks and just set them aside. And then I'm walking my hands all the way over towards this right foot, and I'm bringing a bend in my right knee. So I have a nice long line on the left side, and then I'll walk the hands through center and then shift over towards the left side. So just moving from side to side. Working in with alternating flexion and extension. Similar shape that we took when we were warming up in that table pose. And then as we come through center, we can press the heels in and then the toes in, and then just sort of shift from side to side and see if a lower squat is available. And the blocks are so great, sliding a block underneath your seat for that extra support, especially if you're working with enhanced sensation through the hips and the knees. This way we can just press the elbows to the inner aspect of the knees and allow time for the palms to connect. If you've chosen that increased effort, without the support of the block in your squat, just taking some time, pressing into the feet, allowing the breath to move through. And maybe finding a block and then sliding it underneath the base of the pelvis. And then we can release this right arm down. Take a reach with the left arm up. And then bring this left elbow to the inside of the left knee. Reach that left arm down so we can reach the right arm up. And then switching that out. And then from here, moving back through center, we need to lift the pelvis slightly to remove the prop and then reach the arm back. And then the other, find your seat. Cross-legged is fine. We're just going to transition onto our backs. So from here, I'm going to make some space for soles of the feet to connect. Maybe bring my hands to those ankles and feet and just give a gentle massage, hands to feet. Allowing the massage to extend up the low legs and into the knees and perhaps even the thighs. But using those thumbs for the inner aspect of the heel, the sole of the foot, and then of course wrapping the fingers around the tips of the toes. We'll bring the hands to the outsides of the knees and gently assist them back through center. Just give a moment here with the legs extended and give them a shake. Maybe point and flex the toes. And then bringing a bend into the knees, readjusting of the seat, taking some time to bring the spine to the floor. I'm walking my feet to the edges of the yoga mat, or just the feet a little bit wider than the hips. And then I have the space to drop the knees to one side and then the other. Taking a moment to draw the knees back up through center and then readjust those feet as well. So you have some action to press into the feet and then feel the rotation of the pelvis. So that pulling away of the low back and then the pressing of the low back into the mat. And from this position of pressing into the mat, we can gently press into the feet and lift the pelvis up. I'm just rolling the shoulders under a little bit here. But rather than draw the arms up, just because I want to bring a little bit of cooling and ease into the practice now, I'm going to keep the backs of my arms on the floor. I can first begin to activate by bringing the fingers and reaching them up towards the ceiling, but ultimately just dropping the hands right on the crest of the ribs here while you're holding the pelvis up. And just feel into the breath. So as you inhale, see how the fingers lift, the fullness and expansion of the breath. And as you exhale, see how the fingers and the hands curl around the last rib as you release the breath from the body. We'll take one more round here of breath. And then slowly releasing the spine and the pelvis back down towards the floor. I'm going to draw one knee in and then the other. I'm going to bring my hands to the tops of the knees and just gently rock from side to side. Another option would be to bring the hands to the inside of the legs, maybe hold the hands to the low legs or the ankles. Maybe rotating the feet so they're parallel to the ceiling, and then just continuing the rocking here, the lying stirrup pose. And another option would be to hook the first two fingers to the great toe, so you have that hand and foot connection again. And then just rock it out from side to side. A nice massage for the low back, into the hips, crest of the pelvis. And then maybe from here, the legs can extend up and the arms can extend up, and you can just give your arms and legs a shake. Maybe the stretch with the arms overhead, pointing and flexing of the feet. And then a slow lowering of the feet back down. We'll take both knees to the right and then open up the elbows and the arms in that cactus shape. Just taking a moment with the head slightly turned to the left and the knees to the right. Coming back up through center and then just allowing the knees to fall to the left. The gaze slowly rotates over towards the left side, the right side, as the knees fall to the left. Knees will come back up through center. And from here, you can really just take any position, any stretch that would bring a feeling of completeness to your practice. Hopefully you have some extra time to take a few moments of stillness and rest, perhaps with the hands connected to the body.